The hard part is over. John Harbaugh is a Giant, but now it's his job to fix this football team as well as his coaching staff, and the rumors about who he could hire as an OC in DC are starting to heat up. We'll talk about those momentarily, but if you're fired up that John Harbaugh is your football coach, get your shirt, chatsports.com/HarbaughNYG. We're playing Harbaugh ball now for the New York Giants, a winning brand of football. Support the show and support your new head coach. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's video. As rumors about what the New York Giants are going to do at the defensive coordinator spot are starting to heat up, and then we'll talk about the offensive coordinator, because it sounded like Todd Monken was going to be the guy, but now I'm not so sure. News of the day, the Buffalo Bills have fired Sean McDermott as their head coach. One of the best head coaches over the last 10 years is now free. Will he get another job, or will he look to go back to his roots of being a defensive coordinator? And of course, when you're John Harbaugh and you've coached in this league for 30 years, you're going to have connections to almost every single coaching candidate. And yeah, there is a connection between Harbaugh and McDermott. Shout to Big Blue United saying Harbaugh and Sean McDermott were together on the Eagles from 2001 to 2007. Joe Schoen and Sean McDermott overlapped in Buffalo from 2017 to 2021. That is not a short period of time to overlap for the head coach and assistant general manager. Curious if Harbaugh looks at McDermott as a defensive coordinator option for the Giants. I think that if McDermott wants to be a coach in this league and it's not a head coach and it is a defensive coordinator, I think the Giants will be interested. McDermott did a heck of a job with Buffalo as their defensive coordinator after he kind of passed off the reins to Bobby Babich over the last couple of seasons. But he got the juice behind his name for what he did as the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers from 2011 to 2016 when he got them to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton winning the MVP. Just saying that to let everybody remember what year it was. He also was with Philadelphia Eagles for a long time, working his way up from a defensive assistant to a DB coach, to a linebacker coach, to a DB coach, and then a defensive coordinator for 2 years. And you look at what he did as a defensive coordinator and a head coach, you see I've kind of got it categorized there by points per game, and to kind of look at that. And in 2021, when he was the play caller for Buffalo, they had the number 1 scoring defense. The following year, the number 2 scoring defense. In 2019, the number 2 scoring defense. In Carolina in 2013, the number 2 scoring defense. So he's had a top 2 defense when it comes to points per game allowed 4 times. And if you want to count what's happened in 2023 in Buffalo, they were the 4th best scoring defense. So his defenses were top 5 in points per game allowed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And they were top 6 in 2015 in Carolina. So he was a top 6 defense 6 times as a defensive coordinator. There were some years that it wasn't so great as well, but there's no doubt about it. Sean McDermott can coach some defense. And if he still wants to coach, the Giants will give him a call. I'm pretty confident on that. Look, he's a head coach. He knows what it takes. He has the connection to Joe Schoen. He has the connection to John Harbaugh. I would not be shocked if Harbaugh already sent a message, a text, a call, an email, whatever he does to Sean McDermott to see if he is still interested. So we'll kind of put a pen in that conversation. I think it's definitely a possibility and something everyone should be monitoring. Connor Hughes tweeted this out a couple of days ago, and there's been a lot of people that have connected Anthony Weaver, the current defensive coordinator, who I'm sure won't be the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins any longer, and John Harbaugh. Anthony Weaver is among the candidates John Harbaugh is targeting at DC, I am told. There's connections there, and here they are. Harbaugh and Weaver connections. Weaver was the Ravens D-line coach and run game coordinator in 2021, plus the assistant head coach and defensive line coach from 2022 to 2023. He ended up leaving the Baltimore Ravens once John Harbaugh selected Zach Orr as the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, and then Weaver went on to the Miami Dolphins and became the DC there. Hasn't done that good of a job, though, as DC, especially when you kind of whittle it down to just points per game allowed. Very surface level stuff here, but 27th most points per game allowed, 10th in Miami, and then 24th. So 2 times he was a bottom 10 defense in the NFL, where 1 year they were a top 10 defense. So Weaver could be a target. Our guy Ricky Scoops, shout out to Ricky, he linked Jim Leonhard to the to the New York Giants as their defensive coordinator, and he said the Anthony Weaver interview would be because of the Rooney Rule. I believe in Ricky. There's no reason not to, but far from being, I would say, a fact at this point. I do expect Weaver to get an interview, and I would expect Jim Leonhard to as well. Someone that has been rising fastly through the National Football League, played in the NFL, and has some ties to Harbaugh. He was a member of that 2008 Ravens squad where Harbaugh was the head coach. Look how quickly this rise was. DB coach at Wisconsin. Then 1 year later, the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin. Then the interim head coach. Then he went on to Illinois, and then he found himself in the NFL. Last 2 years working with Sean Payton in Denver as the DB coach and pass game coordinator, and now the assistant head coach and defensive pass game coordinator. I would not be shocked if he gets a DC job this upcoming cycle, and there have been reports and rumors out there that he turned down DC jobs last year because he is waiting for the right opportunity. Everyone loves Jim Leonhard. It doesn't matter who you talk to. I reached out to people that covered the Broncos. I reached out to people that were fans of Wisconsin football. Touch base with a lot of people that know who Leonhard is, and they told me Marshall would be an awesome hire, and I'm going to listen to him on that. Some other names to keep in mind as potential defensive coordinators could be Denard Wilson. I could see him getting an interview with the Giants. Has some ties with John Harbaugh as well. Was the Ravens DB coach in 2023. The Giants were very interested in signing Wilson as their defensive coordinator before they went and got Shane Bowen, and that was because Wilson ended up choosing the Titans over the Giants. But he has that connection to Harbaugh, and he has defensive coordinator experience as well. We've heard that Antonio Pierce could be in the mix to be the defensive coordinator. And look, I'm very appreciative for what AP did for the Giants as a football player. That tackle in the snow at Lambeau, one of the best and biggest plays in Giants history. I'm not interested in Antonio Pierce being the defensive coordinator for this football team. He's never been a DC in the National Football League. And then when you have John Harbaugh as your head coach, you can get the best of the best. And no disrespect to AP. I love him, always will, as a Giant and a Giant player. I don't want to see him as the defensive coordinator for this team. So this list, it will continue to grow. Names will continue to be added. But I'm sure John Harbaugh will get the right coordinator. Name a DC you want the Giants to hire. Give me a name down in the comment section. From DC to OC. And will it be Todd Monken? Ian Rapoport, as well as Dianna Russini, the morning after the news broke that Harbaugh and the Giants were finalizing a deal, they said that the expectation is for Todd Monken, the former Ravens offensive coordinator, that he will leave and join the Giants with Harbaugh now being there, saying Monken is expected to join Harbaugh with the New York Giants. But then we saw yesterday that Jeremy Fowler reported Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken will interview with the Browns in person today. Per source, this is the second interview for Monken and the Browns to be their head coach. And Jordan Renan ended up quote tweeting that, saying this is why it is far from certain that Todd Monken ends up as the Giants offensive coordinator. And I think that this would be a home run hire for the Giants if they're able to get Todd Monken. In 2024, they scored the third most points in the NFL. In 2023, they scored the fourth most points in the NFL. And then in 2025, they scored the 11th most points in the National Football League. And that's with Lamar Jackson missing 4 games as well. Paul Schwartz of the New York Post saying it certainly would come as no surprise if Harbaugh looks to replicate some of what he had with the Ravens and turns the offense over to Todd Monken. He is the favorite to land the job, the Post has learned. So keep your eyes on that. Some other names that I could see being involved. I think Mike McDaniel could get an interview. I know he's interviewed for the Titans head coach job. I'm sure he will interview for other jobs. Heard he already interviewed for the Ravens offensive coordinator, Raiders offensive coordinator job, and things of that sort as well. So keep your eyes on him. Very creative in the run game. I love him as an OC. I don't want him as a head coach. Super creative, though. Worked well with Tua early on in their relationship. I think it makes a lot of sense with Jackson Dart. Davis Webb, the quarterback coach for the Denver Broncos. A name everybody should be monitoring at this point. He was a Giant. He was a part of that team that won a playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings. And Daniel Jones has talked in length about how Davis Webb was essentially a crutch for him that year. Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, he's a name that's getting some buzz early in the offseason as a potential guy that could move somewhere else. You may ask Marshall, why would he go from the Rams to the Giants? Well, he doesn't really call plays for the Rams, so it would be an upgrade in job title, and he would essentially be able to be the CEO of the offense, with John Harbaugh being the CEO of this football team. And Brian Callahan, the former head coach for the Tennessee Titans, an offensive guy who's had some success in this league. I would not be shocked if he's in the mix for the Giants interview cycle, as he has already interviewed to be the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, the team that Jim Harbaugh, the brother of John Harbaugh, coaches. He was the OC for Cincy, and in 2022, they scored 7th most points. 2021, they scored the 7th most points. So he's been to a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator. Wouldn't be shocked if the Giants kick the tires on that. It's going to be a long process. We'll see what happens. I think Todd Monken's going to get this job as long as he doesn't get the Browns job. But if he does, then it's going to be a full-out search for the next OC. And if and when the Giants make a move at DC or OC, we're going to be making a video ASAP. So hit that sub button and lock us in. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting the channel. Really, really do appreciate it. If you haven't got your Harbaugh Ball t-shirts, go and get one. You can also find these Real One t-shirts on that link as well. Be a real one, support the show, and we'll see you later.